Welcome to another episode of the Hoop Post Talk Show with your host, Chris Ramirez. Today, we got our guest is Mike Saunders. Mike is a native of Queens, New York, and he is the author of Life Sentence. And this is his book, and he's going to share us about it. Also, Mike was the head athletic trainer of the New York Knicks for 27 years. Mike, I just want to honor you for your dedication to the game of basketball, also being the author of a book. I greatly appreciate you coming on.
Oh, Chris, it's great to see you again. It's great to be on with you. I look forward to this.
Likewise, we're going to get into it now. So just share with us, where in Queens did you grow up, and how did you get involved into the game of basketball?
I grew up in Maspeth, Queens.
Okay.
I lived in a co-op with I'm 71. I was born in 1952, so I'm a baby boomer.
Okay.
And the co-op was full of baby boomers, so there was never a dearth of people to play with. I had a ton of friends, and they were all sports fans. Baseball was my first love. That was the most popular sport in the neighborhood. And then somebody introduced basketball, and I fell in love with the game, playing the game in the schoolyard. I never played in an organized league. I never played for my high school. I went to Newtown High School, which was in your backyard in East Elmhurst. So, so I went to Newtown, played baseball at Newtown, but did not play basketball. I wasn't good enough, and I didn't even think about playing varsity basketball. But I loved the game. I remember, regardless of the weather, going to the schoolyard and sometimes shoveling the court of snow and to play. So I loved it. And I coached in the PAL basketball. And then I had opportunity to work with the Knicks, which was a dream come true.
Excellent. I love baseball too. That was my favorite sport. I started it. And share with you, I was playing baseball with Elmcore, which I'm a native of East Elmhurst.
Elmcore is very, very famous, being a Queens guy.
Yeah.
Cecil Watkins, I believe, was the father of Elmcore, and he did so much for the community. I was a product of that. I guess my first job actually as an athletic trainer was working for Citywide, which was a program sponsored by Cecil Watkins.
Correct.
I worked at Montebello Park, way out in Queens, in Anthony Mason's neighborhood. May he rest in peace. Wonderful friend, wonderful guy. So I did that. So yeah, Cecil had his fingerprints all over a lot of people. He helped a lot of people.
Yes, and he was my mentor too, a very dear friend of mine. Stay in touch with the family time to time. So he knew me when I was a young boy, and he really was counseling my sister who graduated from Newtown herself. So I got into baseball. We played Little League Baseball. Till I was 12, we played over at PS 143, which is right across from the old Shea Stadium, now Citi Field. And then I got into basketball over in East Elmhurst, which was PS 127, which was where the Ray Felix tournament was there for numerous years. This was before my time. A lot of great players from not only the East Elmhurst area, but all over the city came to play in the tournament. Mr. Watkins promoted that. That was second to none, right? One of the best right there along with Rucker.
Right, yeah, and I think East Elmhurst abuts Corona, Queens as well. So we had a lot of people went to Newtown from Corona, and they played, in those leagues. That was a great place to play basketball.
Yes. But I went to All Hallows in the Bronx. I didn't go to school in Queens since my family was involved with the Archdiocese of New York. They were on the board. They had connections there. Like my mother, she grew up in Harlem and she was I'm part of the St. Charles Borough Mail, the school and the church, and stayed connected with a lot of the Christian brothers there. So the references went to all, I just ended up going to school to a school in the Bronx.
You, I shouldn't put you on the spot, but I know there are some famous guys who played at All Hallows,
Yes.
who went on to coach. I'm not sure if Jim Larinaga
No,
was from there.
Larinaga went to Malloy. Bobby
Okay,
Krezwezki went to All Hallows.
that's who it was. Bobby Cremens. Yes, um, I I had Bobby Cremens as our guest at a large basketball luncheon that I run every year down here in Florida. This year it's going to be December 13th.
Wonderful.
Bobby Cremens was our guest last year, and he was terrific. So I knew there was a coach from All Hallows. And you're
Yeah.
right, it's Bobby Cremens.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And there's another one too. Nobody knows too much about George Felton, who was his assistant, that he became a head coach in South Carolina. He got into the scouting ranks in the NBA too. So George Felton was there. Then also Jack Curran, who was the head coach.
Oh, well, at Malloy, both basketball and baseball. I knew Jack. He is truly legendary. As another person who's had tremendous influence on us, Floyd Lane was also a legendary coach and an icon in New York basketball.
Yes. Definitely. So yeah, we have a lot of alumni from All Hallows who had successful coaching careers, Coach Truman, Coach.
Floyd, I know Floyd played at City College.
Yes,
Floyd played and then later coached City when I was there. I was a student trainer. And so Floyd, again, we talked before about that. Floyd is an exceptional.
yes. And we're gonna get into that in just a moment here too, because I would love to discuss those experiences here. But before we get into it, what made you want to be an athletic trainer?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know that that profession existed. What happened when I was in high school, uh, late 60s, 1970, I guess, oceanography was an emerging, and I was fascinated by that. That was kind of like the last frontier. We may know more about the moon than we know about our own oceans. So I was captivated by that and wanted to go into oceanography. So I majored in biology. I wanted to be a marine biologist um, when I went to City College. But there was something lacking there. I didn't have that inspiration, so to speak. And I had coached basketball and baseball, uh, loved sports. So I changed my major to physical education.
Okay.
And then I read an article in the City College newspaper that they hired a new athletic trainer, Joel Rosenstein. I read the article and something pulled me in. So I went to visit him and volunteered. And I came back every day. And that was my calling. The fireworks went off. You
Oh,
know, I hope everybody in their lifetime uh, finds their calling. And I knew this is what I wanted. I couldn't get enough. It combined my interest in sports, in helping people, and my fascination with the human body as well, anatomy, physiology. So it was really perfect for me. It's as if I created this field to suit myself. And that's how it began.
that is, thank you for sharing that. I know you was a student sports trainer there at CCNY in their athletic department. Um, Especially you was doing all sports, but I know you was part of that was basketball there, and you got to work along with the legendary coach Floyd Lane. Also, a lot of people don't realize Floyd Lane was part of that NIT an NCAA championship city college basketball team.
1950. That brought the city together. It was an exceptional team for many reasons. Nat Holman was the coach, and they had some great players, but it really reflected New York City. It had both African Americans on the team, Jewish players, and they all got along as one. That was really the beauty of that team, and they showed the rest of the country how to play basketball.
Yeah,
And they truly represented the city. This was something that all New Yorkers could identify with.
that is so true. Also, speaking of Mr. Watkins, his brother Leroy Watkins, God bless his soul, was part of that team too, as well.
Yes. Yep.
You know, and also
Yeah.
Mr. Leroy Watkins became an educator. He was a principal, and then he was an assistant coach at Queens College for some time. Then he coached in a lot of the pro-am leagues.
Yep, absolutely.
So I was very close with Mr. Watkins. Rest in peace to both Cecil and Leroy.
Right. Yeah. Both were exceptional.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yes, they're definitely. Also, I want to mention, even so, with Coach Floyd Lane, another legendary coach. He's up there, great legacy, helped a lot of young men. Coaches City College for numerous years, plus he coaches some of these pro-am leagues. He's been an advocate to this basketball community. He's still going on, still working with still mentoring the youth. That's a blessing right there.
Floyd is an incredible person. Now, President Kennedy wrote a book called Profiles in Courage about great men who showed exceptional courage in their lifetime. Frank Gifford wrote a book similar about great sports people, and Floyd was in that book.
Wow.
Floyd is truly exceptional, and people kid around, but it's probably true that if there's a kid bouncing a basketball and Floyd sees it, he will go over and help that kid with his game. Floyd can't help but teach and share his knowledge, and his knowledge is vast.
Correct. Also, I want to put out a couple of names here too that who also became very not only great in the community of New York City basketball, but well known in the game. I'm going to mention Steve Lapis. Steve Lapis, I first see him on the spotlight at Truman High School. And my first time I recognized him, he was coaching the Doc Turner at the Doc Turner Christmas Classic, which was held at City College.
Oh man, you mentioned Doc Turner. He's one of the fathers of sports medicine. I come from that family tree.
Wow.
Doc Turner was at LIU for many years, and one of his students was Bill Chisholm.
Okay.
Another great man who was at Brooklyn College. Joel Rosenstein, who I studied under, was a student of Bill Chisholm's. So all these branches came from Doc Turner. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's important to keep these names alive.
Exactly.
These were great people.
This is why I like doing the show, to just keep people relevant and give them their honor.
Yeah.
And share their story. And thank you for sharing that. That was something I'm being educated as well too. And then just getting back to Coach Lapis. Coach Lapis had his team won that tournament. Then he had another player who I first saw, and he was going to be something special. Rod Strickland.
I was going to take a guess. I knew it was Rod Strickland. I know, and I had Rod. We drafted Rod.
That's correct.
Unfortunately, he didn't spend enough time with the Knicks.
Yes.
He made a trade. He sacrificed the future for the immediate gratification. He traded Rod to San Antonio and Mo Cheeks. And Mo was a Hall of Famer. And he helped us win a series against Boston in Boston.
I remember that. And
But yeah, Rod and I still, communicate, and I still love Rod. You can't help but love Rod. He's one of great individuals.
yeah. And then after they won that tournament, that same year, they went on won the city and state championship. And
I had Steve Lapis as a student when I was a student trainer. He was the point guard for the JV. I was in charge of the JV team. I also knew Steve's brother, John Lapis, who I coached in the PAL.
nice.
So, it was a family affair, and we do keep in touch. So that's nice.
Great.
And
And
Steve does a great job as an analyst for college basketball.
correct. And you know what? I got a chance to talk to him. I work with CBS Sports as a statistician. Worked on a couple of his games. Me and him, we talk, we reminisce when we get the opportunity about the good old days. And a matter of fact, that year when his team won that city and state championship, he accepted the assistant job at Villanova. And that first under Raleigh Massimino, he was part of that staff that pulled the upset over
Against Georgetown.
yes. And then a few years later, he moved on and accepted the head coach at Manhattan College.
And then UMass. He was also at UMass.
Yeah. But before that, he was at Villanova.
Yeah, and UMass. Yeah, so yeah, his reputation is terrific. Everybody loves Steve and knows that he is a great coach.
Yes. And then the next person I want to talk about who was at City College is, God rest in peace, Kenny Eggman Williamson. And he's great in the basketball community.
Yes, yeah. Kenny was a lovely man, a good friend, well loved and respected in the New York City basketball.
Yeah.
Scout. He was close with Ed Tapscott, who I know you were close with. So yeah, we missed the Eggman for sure.
Yes, God rest in peace to Eggman, who was a longtime assistant coach. And share your story. I was the team manager for All Hallows basketball. And in my sophomore year, I remember him coming to recruit some players at All Hallows. And just run into him a few times. We started talking and we got to know each other for so many years. And we always kept in touch time to time. Great guy. Ran into some of him at the games when he was scouting, and great guy.
Great guy, and so knowledgeable about the game of basketball.
Definitely.
Just a fountain of knowledge.
Yes. And just he's greatly missed.
No question about it.
Yes. And can you mention some other players who are over there at City College who deserves their honor besides the three I've mentioned?
Well, the three you mentioned are right up there, no question about it. Just right now I can't think of any, because that's how my mind works now. But I remember just being a student, not a student trainer, just going to games. I remember we hosted the CUNY championship one year, so there were like 4 games a day, and I just loved being in that gym, watching the games.
Yes, but
I think we had a player, Earl Taylor.
Okay.
I think that was his last name, Earl Taylor, who was really a great leader. I really looked up to him. I hope I have his name right.
Okay.
Earl, I know was his first name.
Yeah.
He was just a terrific player, but also a great leader, had great character. So I remember that. And when I first got there, Jack Haminer was the head coach.
Okay.
Jack later moved on to coach and be very successful coach at Scarsdale High School.
Excellent.
Yeah. In fact, Jack is going to be honored at our luncheon this year down in Florida. So, it always comes full circle. And that's the beauty of basketball.
Yes.
Just like the ball is round, so is the community. Everybody knows each other. And I love reminiscing about it.
Of course. Yeah. And I'll tell you a story too. I had a dear friend who kind of mentored me into the television business, played basketball there. Mr. Larry Woods, great, a dear friend of mine, very close to him, played there. He was part of those city college basketball programs in the 70s, right around the same time. And I went to a couple of their gatherings.
I was basically, well, I was a student trainer. I started late because I was a bio major for 2 years before I got into physical education, then athletic training. So I was basically there, we'll say from 75 to 73 through 75, those years. And being a phys ed major, my last term in 74, I taught at Newtown actually. I went back to Newtown to teach. Um, so I was away from the team, for a short while. But those were my best days. I loved my days at City College. Although I lived in Queens, taking a bus or walking to the subway and then taking two subways up to City College, I just absolutely loved it. It was really made me from a teenager to a man.
City College, yeah, had a lot of great memories. I was working with the NBA Pro Am League during my times with Elmcor. When I was done with my playing days, I got to the NBA Pro Am League under Mr. Watkins. They they played at City College every summer. Great memories going up there and watching some of these great players from the city area. I'm going to mention that we're going to keep jumping into it back and forth, but it will be brought up a few times. I want to just mention that to you, but there was some wonderful memories there every summer with Mr. Cecil Watkins, also Doc Lusting, who was his side person. He coached a few other players from the Knicks, who I'm going to mention shortly, and they really had the prom was great. So it was wonderful. It was just an unfortunate matter that the prom had to end from back in 1992 when the tragic happened with the people passed away in that crush at City College.
I do recall that.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that very well.
But it took years for them not to have events. It's right now, slowly but surely, they're reconciling some events. They're going on. I know they brought back the CUNY championships. They brought back some other events, but just never like high profile events. But they have another tournament going on now, which is supporting the HBCU every November. So they're trying to get back to this prominence. But we're going to move fast forward. We're going to talk about July 1978. You became the head athletic trainer for the New York Knicks. Talk about your first year and talk about the role that you played in as the head athletic trainer.
You're right that it was July of 1978. Actually, I was in Puerto Rico with the U.S. national soccer team. I had done a lot of work in soccer, including in 1975 going on a postseason tour with Pelé, great Pelé, and the New York Cosmos.
Yes, God bless his soul.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I mean, talk about icons. He is truly up there internationally with Muhammad Ali and Pelé. Um, so I had that experience. So I was down in Puerto Rico with the U.S. national soccer team, and I got a call from Eddie Donovan, who's general manager of the Knicks at the time, and I had been interviewing with Mr. Donovan and with Willis Reed, who was the coach. And I got the call to come up when I come back from Puerto Rico to see him. And that's when I knew I had the job. And to be honest with you, it was overwhelming. The trainer before me was Danny Whalen, who was very well known by all New Yorkers. But I was flying by the seat of my pants. I had to learn my way. But that was. I mean, it wasn't just the first years. Many years that I had to keep improving and learning things. Being a lifelong learner, it certainly helps. And it's funny you said the first year. I can remember most of the players from my first. If you gave me any other year, I couldn't tell you the roster, but I remember the first year. We just drafted Michael Ray Richardson from the
Yeah.
University of Montana. His backcourt mate was Ray Williams. May he rest in peace.
Yes, I love Ray.
Mount Vernon High School.
Yes.
We had Bob McAdoo, Hall of Famer. Toby Knight
Yes.
was on that team. Spencer Haywood was our center, and we had just gotten Marvin Webster as a free agent.
Yes.
Mike Glenn was on that team.
Fingers.
Glenn Gondrezick, Gondo, may he rest in peace. Marvin Webster has passed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad when I look back at these players and people I worked with. So many are gone, and it really hurts. It leaves an empty part of my heart.
Yes. But yes,
that was the team.
correct. But in that first year, the first 14 games, Willis Reed was the coach.
Correct.
Then they made a change and brought back Red Holtzman.
That's right. Yes.
Both for their souls. Yeah.
Yes, true. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, I guess that's a natural part of life. As you get older, your contemporaries or the people older than you who you looked up to and worked with, they pass away. It's sad. I reminisce about those times and miss those people greatly. But my lesson is reach out to those who are still alive.
Yes.
And maintain those relationships. I speak to Patrick Ewing all the time, Bill Cartwright, Earl Monroe. I had the great Earl Monroe. He remains a close friend. Butch Beard remains a close friend. So, and it's a lesson to everybody. Don't take relationships for granted. Keep nurturing them. Make that call. Go and make the call.
Touch bases. And I know you talk about that relationship with Earl Monroe.
Well, I love Earl. Earl is a beloved person, basketball player, but a person. Earl is so special. Everybody who knows him just adores him. In fact, what happened, I don't want to tell tales out of school, but I got a call from Butch Beard, who lives near Earl up in Harlem, and we remain in contact. And he said, we were talking, he said, Earl's not doing that well. I think he was a little despondent because he was walking with a walker. He had some problems, So I was up in New Jersey where my daughter lives for the birth of my third grandchild. So I'm in Jersey. So I took a trip into the city to see Earl, work with Earl a little bit, and just to see him again. And Earl again is the best. I would do anything for Earl. And we speak, and he's doing much better. But sometimes that happens when you're a great athlete, and you can no longer, be that person, that athlete. It's a little, it's a little, depressing, perhaps. So. Earl's great. I love her.
Yes.
In fact, I've been out to dinner in Harlem with Earl, and when you walk on the street with Earl, it is so special because he's treated like the king. And everybody salutes him, says hello, and says, so it's really enjoyable.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that with Earl the Pearl Monroe. To me, as an avid Knicks fan, this is a blessing, right? Because I could share you a lot of things. And just speaking of Queens and PS 127, I first got a dose we had a basketball clinic up there, PS 127 East Elmhurst, doing basketball drills. And the two people who came out, I remember this was a little boy, Ray Williams and Willis Reed put on the clinic.
That
Me,
was probably 1977,
yes,
78,
time.
right? Because I think Ray's first year was 77
Okay,
with the Knicks. I believe so. Uh, he went to University of Minnesota,
yes,
and Ray, I think, with the exception of maybe Pele that I worked with,
yes,
Ray was the best athlete I ever worked. Ray
wonderful.
was an exceptional athlete, could do anything,
Yeah,
anything, and was a great player.
was.
You know, I always wanted players to do better than me. I had tremendous respect and admiration for my athletes, and I always wanted them to do well and succeed. It doesn't always happen. Um, the thing that everyone has in common, they're all human beings, and they have good qualities and sometimes other qualities.
Yes,
So I'm sorry to see when players don't do well.
yes, and it was
I always root for them, hope they do well, and I would do anything to help them achieve
understandably. And it was just very unfortunate. Ray was one of my favorite Knick players. And talk about that late 70s, early 80s. I love that team. They were the lenient times.
that. Well, that backcourt of Michael Ray and Ray Williams
Oh,
was a
yes.
dynamic backcourt. It was a great backcourt. And they got along very well, which is great to see. Sometimes you don't know, you know, players may be respect each other, but not be friends. These guys were friends right from the beginning, which was important, which was great. They respected each other and liked each other. I don't know about more recent years, but it may have been the best backcourt that the Knicks had since Clyde and Earl.
Yeah,
Earl.
of
But
course.
also, people questioned whether these two great players, with Earl coming from the Baltimore Bullets, could they succeed together, coexist? They did more than coexist; they excelled, and
Exactly.
they won one championship together. The 1973 championship, the 1970 championship. Earl was not there.
Correct. Yeah.
That's Clyde had one of the greatest game sevens in the history of basketball.
Yes, I remember that. And got the pleasure to meet all these greats, Willis Reed, Clyde Frazier, and also,
I mean, I'm a kid from Queens,
yes,
up, and I had the opportunity to work with these guys. It was
sure.
really a privilege.
Yeah,
It really was.
yeah. And just want to ask you this, and I'm curious, how is it to, you're being the head trainer there, how challenging it was to work with these guys, keep them healthy, working with this coaching staff, front office. Ye-
Well, and let me add something, Chris. I was also the traveling secretary.
uh,
So I had to do all of that work as well, all of the travel. And for my first 15 years, we traveled commercially. You'd
yeah,
have to get to the airport and get on a flight with, a full plane of other people. So, there weren't always first class seats for these big guys. And we're subject to weather problems. So that was at times a headache as well. Um, I was fortunate, though. I think in life, if you give respect, you get respect. And I respected the players. They gave it back to me. Um, I never had a problem with them, ever. They were all great. I think they appreciated what I did for them. and I didn't just care for them, I cared about them.
And that's so important, just keeping that relationship and that connection, because this is like a close family. You guys are together, you're there for a long season, and it was important that you guys keep that connection.
Well, that's your immediate family, but the whole NBA is a family.
Correct.
Other players, the referees, everybody involved in the game is part of the NBA family.
Exactly.
And I got along very well with everybody, fortunately.
And that was so important. And
Yeah.
also, you had a couple of players I want to mention too. Back in those days, I was following the Knicks early 80s. I got to see the likes of Reggie Carter sleep. God bless his soul. It's cold.
Yes. Here he played at St. I remember him at St. John's.
Me
And
too.
and talk about lovely people. Oh, you couldn't get a better, lovelier person than Reggie. Then he had the heart issues past, which really hurt me. I think he may have been the first player I had that passed away, and he was very young. It was so sad. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was very surreal. Yeah. God rest in peace, Reggie Carter. And also, I want to also another player who was part of the Knicks. I like Bernard King. He was one of the best.
First of all, he's not in the Hall of Fame, and he should be.
Correct.
Okay? He should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, he suffered that ACL injury, the anterior cruciate tear. We were in, I remember, Kansas City when they had a team, and he had the ACL tear. And I think at that time, nobody came back from it. But Dr. Norman Scott, who is the greatest orthopedic surgeon that existed, did the surgery, and Bernard came back
Yes,
to all-star form.
he did.
And yeah, and I still keep in touch with Bernard. And again, in terms of a period of time, nobody was better than nobody could stop him. He was scoring over 40 points against the Pistons during this playoff. I think like 85 or 86.
Yes.
And the Boston Celtics said, "Oh, he's not going to get 40 on us." He didn't. He got 44 on them. They couldn't stop him. Nobody could stop Bernard. He had that quick baseline stop and pop the shot. Nobody could stop him. It was incredible.
He was. And I'll tell you this too. Bernard should have been MVP. I know they gave it to Larry Bird, but Bernard deserved it because this guy put back-to-back 50-point games at one
I
point.
remember that well in Texas.
Yeah.
50 back to back.
Like,
just incredible. And everybody, his teammates just loved him,
yeah,
respected him so much. Such a hard work. I remember we got him from Golden State, I believe, for
Golden State. Yeah, for Michael.
We got him from Golden State for Michael Ray. So Ernie Grunfeld was on our team and knew Bernard from his days at Tennessee.
Yes.
And I was concerned. We got him at the beginning. I was concerned. Is he going to come in shape? And Ernie guaranteed me. He says, "Don't worry about Bernard. He's always in shape." And sure enough, he was in great shape. And he was noted for what he called his game face. He was serious for game time. You could not get him before game time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. The volume was low on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Bernard had a game face. People called it his game face. He was serious before a game. Yeah. And we were playing the Nets, and his brother Albert King was there. And I saw Albert. I said, "Albert, how you doing?" Did you see Bernard? He said, "I saw Bernard, but I didn't say hello." He had his game face on. Even his brother wouldn't talk to him before. No, I was that serious. and he took it out on the opposition.
He did.
He really did.
Yeah.
And Bernard's alive and well, living in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah, and coming up to help out the Knicks at times.
Yes.
He still has a presence with the team. And people who saw Bernard know that he was one of the best.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Yes. And then we fast forward, we're going to talk about that late 80s, getting the chance to Patrick Ewing era. That was one of the golden, even so, it was a great era in New York City basketball, regardless of, but there was something to cheer for.
Well, I think for fans of the Knicks, after we'll say 75, they won the championship in 73, but after that time, they certainly did not win a championship, but the Patrick Ewing teams that I was part of, we went to the finals twice.
Yes.
We lost to Houston in Game 7 in 94, and we lost to San Antonio in 99.
Correct.
But Patrick didn't even play much of that series because he was injured. But those were the best times for Knicks fans.
Yeah.
They get excited about getting to the second round of the playoffs. We went to the second round year after year after year. Whether it be with Pat Riley, with Jeff Van Gundy, who's a great coach. We got to the second round so often. So, but we went to the finals, and the finals are very special.
Yes,
and we went in 99 and in 94.
Correct. And that early 90s teams was something. I kind of saw Anthony Mason coming on his own. Rest in peace. He was he was a journeyman till he had that one summer in the USBL, the Long Island Surf, where he really developed, then was prepared. And Pat Riley was the new coach, and he fit right into Pat's system. That was a big book. He was the example of the NBA, that toughness.
Yes, but you can't leave out Charles Oakley.
Yes, I'm good.
Charles also was the epitome of a tough New York player.
He was.
And I still keep in touch with Oak, and I love Oak.
Yeah.
So we had great players, great character on that team.
John Starks was.
John's an ambassador with the Knicks. He was beloved. People can identify with John. He wasn't 7 feet tall. He wasn't a Hulk. John looked like you and me.
Yes.
And we know of his struggles in and out of the league. CBA, working at a supermarket, bagging groceries. We know that story. And then he goes and has an all-star type career. Yes. And one of the famous dunks on the Chicago Bulls.
Yes. But I have to share with people, I work at his camp, and I was amazed at his personality. And you look at this guy, and everybody looks at him, it's like his demeanor was tough. He was like a no-nonsense guy. And a lot of people, the people took it the wrong way. But when you came up close, and I just walked up to him and say hello. He reached out, shake his hand. It was pretty cool. It's like, wow, John is good to talk with.
Oh, John's a regular guy.
Yes.
Just a sweetheart. But again, you put him on the court, he's all about business.
Exactly.
There's some guys who you may dislike. Now, I never disliked John because he was always my player. But there's some players you may dislike because how tough they are. But when he's one of yours, you love him.
Yeah.
If he was on another team, you may not. I don't think the Chicago Bulls ever loved John Starks.
And no, he didn't.
You got to that rivalry was tremendous,
intense. Yes, but that was some great rivalries. Also, the late 90s, 99, when You had Larry Johnson, Latrell Sprewell, uh,
Marcus Camby.
Marcus Camby made that surprise run to the championship.
Yes, that was the lockout year. That
Remember?
was the lockout year. Oh,
And-
and wait. You can't talk about that without mentioning Allen Houston.
oh yes, Allen
In
Hughes.
the big, he had many big shots, and we also had Charlie Wood.
Yes,
That
nice person too.
what
I,
character in Charlie? I mean, and Charlie was. I'm not sure I ever saw a more fundamental athlete than Charlie. Remember, he was a Heisman Trophy winner quarterback at FSU. He was a great NBA player, and he was a great baseball player.
wow, I
He was
didn't.
just so fundamentally sound.
Yes,
He was incredible.
yeah,
Allen Houston made some great shots.
oh yeah, big shot. That was the 1999 playoffs. That one down the stretch against the Miami Heat. That knocked,
Yes.
and that set the tone to make that run to the finals.
But can I confess something to you, Chris?
Dude, yes.
I'm a Miami Heat fan now. My son works for the Miami Heat.
Yes.
Son
Okay.
Jeffrey's been there 10 years.
Yeah,
So, I root for the Heat as well now.
I can understand.
Yeah.
But I'm going to share with you about the story with Charlie Ward. In 1994, just graduating from St. Thomas University in Miami, I came up, I know about this Doral Atwood Summer League. It was an NBA Summer League before it became the Vegas Summer League.
That's right.
And I was reached out and I saw Ed. I called up and they mentioned Ed Tapscott's name. And I reached out to Ed Tapscott a few times, left messages. So I didn't hear back from him. And all of a sudden, one day I got a call out of nowhere. And he said, Chris Ramirez, this is Ed Tapscott. He said, what can I do? I just want to be interested in being a part of the Doral Atwood, just to get my foot to be a part of the New York Knicks organization. And that one year, we stayed up to the hotel, was working the game, there was 4 teams, the Milwaukee Bucks,
Celtics were there.
Nets. And it was amazing. Got to reunite with a lot of guys, former some players who eventually came with the Knicks. I remember Chris Childs was with the Nets. Monty Williams got drafted that year, who's the head coach of the Pistons, along with Charlie Ward. I got to get a chance to talk to both.
They were very close, by the way.
Yes.
They were very close.
Yes. I had to share you that story. At Charlie Ward, I got to escort him around and got to talk to him. A very nice and humble person. He played for Kenny Eggman Williamson at Florida State. Just that under Pat Kennedy, but Kenny Williamson was his assistant.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to him. Yes, great football player. And I was witnessing the breakthrough of Charlie Ward that year. If nobody remembers this, I'm going to get off the bat, but it was 4th and 17. Charlie Ward was struggling through those years. He was just not. Now they had to make that first down to keep the game going. He went into shotgun, snapped the ball. He got that first down. Eventually, that started the momentum. That started the greatness to his Heisman run and a national championship. But that one play started to elevate his greatness. Even so, Florida State fell short. They were going for a tie, missed the field goal. But you could see the start of that journey.
You have a great memory for that stuff. You really do. Better than me. I don't remember. You probably remember more stuff with the Knicks than I do. Sometimes when you're living it, and you've been there, it's just part of your life and not something that you observe.
Yes,
it's special.
Great memory.
Daily, every day you're experiencing that.
Yes, and I remember I got to meet one of your members of your staff, Tim Walsh, who became a head trainer later.
Oh, Timmy, yeah. I'll probably call Timmy later today. We keep in touch, a lot. Timmy remains like my brother. And Timmy was a great trainer, both in Orlando and with the Nets, both New Jersey Nets, and Brooklyn Nets.
Yes. And then there's another person I want to mention to you too. And God bless his soul. I knew him around numerous times, met him through Mr. Watkins. Also got to see him around. And he needs his flowers too. Cal Ramsey.
I miss Cal. Cal helped break me. Cal was one of our announcers at the time. And Cal and Butch Beard basically put me under their wings and helped break me in. I couldn't have two better mentors than Cal and Butch Beard. Now, Cal was not only involved with the Knicks, especially with the community, but he was also at NYU, where I went to physical therapy school. So we had that connection as well. But Cal was a great basketball player at NYU also. Cal was a terrific player.
Yes.
Played at NYU with somebody else who I would love was Satch Sanders, Tom Satch Sanders.
I got to meet him.
Who played at Seward Park High School on the Lower East Side, where I was born. Lower East Side. My mother went to Seward Park, and then he played at NYU with Cal.
Yes.
So I just, I feel very privileged to be part of the New York City basketball community.
Repeat
I
that.
don't think there's anything better than that. Basketball is not just a sport in New York City, it's a religion.
Correct.
And I'm so happy to be part of that. I was fortunate to be inducted into the New York City basketball, which incidentally they revived.
I think was low. We missed a couple. It was
Okay. I'm sorry. I was saying, about Cal and all, and being part of this basketball, New York City basketball community, which is like a religion. It's that strong. And I was fortunate to be inducted to the New York City Basketball Hall of Fame back in the day.
yeah.
And it was great to go there and just see all the people, icons, legends in basketball, all from New York City. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. And then it was a pleasure for sharing that too with Cal. But you have a very special bond with Patrick Ewing. And talk about
yeah. I mean, look, we don't miss a birthday. Patrick calls me on every birthday.
nice.
Calls me. Make sure, and he makes sure he's the first one. And he calls me, and I'll call him or text him just out of the blue. How you doing, Patrick? How's everything? How's the family? I knew his son, Patrick. Patrick is one of the great people. I think, I'm not saying there are regrets, but I regret that the Knicks fans never got to know, or some of them never got to know. What a wonderful guy, what a hard worker. There's nobody working harder than Patrick. Patrick only knew one speed, and that was full speed, whether it be in practice or in the game. Patrick never took a period off, a possession off in a game. He only knew one way, and that was all out. And he had a great assistant coaching career in the NBA, and he had a good career at Georgetown. It was tough at Georgetown. They didn't have all the players, but they did win the Big East tournament one year with Patrick, and I loved that. That was great. I just had such a good time watching that run.
Yes.
But Patrick is great. He remains a close friend, somebody that's very important to me and my family.
Yes.
Patrick is. And I was thinking him the other day. About him a lot the other day. I see that college basketball started already, which me, I think it's a little early, at least early for me. It used to be October 15th that you had the first practice,
Correct.
and then right around Thanksgiving. Okay. Now, Chris, can I interrupt for a second? Can I run to the bathroom and come back? That's not a problem.
Not a problem.
Okay, I'm going to do that right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and just getting back to Patrick Ewing here. The thing why I'm really very sad in that me as a avid Knick fan, he didn't win that championship. He came so close. He has won every championship, a national championship at Georgetown, a two-time gold medalist in the Olympics. But that one championship he never got.
Chris, we share that regret. I wanted that ring more for Patrick than for myself.
Yes.
I would have. Now, I think because of sports media and sports radio and all this nonsense, a lot of times, people are judged by how many championships, how many rings they have. That's a new phenomenon. Correct. Patrick Ewing does not need a ring to justify that he's one of the greatest basketball players ever. Was voted in the top 50, certainly deserves it, whether he has a ring or not. That's nonsense that you judge people by how many rings they have. And that's a product of sports radio or whatever, TV, whatever. You know, you have to fill up airtime. So you create these false narratives about, how many championships they won. Patrick is a champion. He has the heart of a champion, and his resume, his playing, is that of a champion.
And that's understandable, and I really applaud you for that. And also, I can understand too that I know the championship went great because of the journey he went through. Many years, he put the hard work and the sacrifice, and he earned that. He deserved that, and that's how. I'm not looking, I know like the media and all that, but if you realize what he went through and the loyalty he had for that organization and the losing years in his first few years and the battles, the fighting through the injuries, that's what I'm saying, the dedication.
There's also something else, Chris. And Pat Riley mentioned it early in his tenure with the Knicks as the head coach. He said, he had the weight of 8 million New Yorkers on his shoulders.
Correct.
To play with that responsibility and that burden night after night is tremendous. But he did that. The hopes and wishes of all New Yorkers and Knicks fans were on his shoulders. And he played hard again every night. Every practice, never took a possession off.
Correct. Yes. And he's just one of my favorite players.
One of my favorite persons.
Yes. And that's just a blessing that you have that special relationship with Patrick.
It was a privilege to work with him.
Yes. And just knowing, Mike, you've been honored, just not only as a trainer of Knicks, you had the honor to become a trainer of the year. Also, you work with 13 different head coaches, 7 Hall of Famers. Also, we talked about the trainer of the year in 1994 and 2005. You was a trainer for the NBA Eastern Conference All-Star teams in 1986 and 1998.
Correct.
Yep. It's a lot. That is a huge accomplishment, and definitely we're gonna get to the book shortly. And I know I want to share something with you about that 1986 All-Star game. We'll get to that in just a moment. But to the end, give me one of your greatest moments ever in Knick history. Just out of all the memories, all the great moments, what is the one moment that stands out?
Well, I'm going to give you two. I'll give you two. my first game ever, Madison Square Garden, with the great John Condon, who was our PA announcer, introducing me, the name Mike Saunders, trainer Mike Saunders. That first time hearing that in Madison Square Garden is unforgettable. And then when we beat, I believe it was Indiana, to get into the finals in '94. I came off the court and I was in tears of happiness,
Yeah,
finally achieving the finals. That's like the holy grail. When you look up at the scoreboard, there are no out-of-town scores. You're the only ones playing, us and Houston. And all the focus of the world is on us and Houston. And just getting to the finals was exceptional.
it is.
So, yeah, so that was very special.
Yeah, and that was not an easy journey for the Knicks all these years, and I enjoyed that moment too.
It never is for any team. It's not easy for any team to get to the finals. You have to be fortunate not to sustain any serious injuries to keep players, and you have to keep. You have a big target on your back. Everybody is shooting. So to win a championship is a great accomplishment. To do it back to back is really something. And we'll see if Denver can do that this year. I know Mike Malone very well. Very well. Mike's a great coach. It's in his DNA. His father, Brendan, may he rest in peace, passed away recently, was a great coach.
Right.
And a great friend of mine. So let's see if Denver can do it. It's not easy.
Oh, it's not
Certainly not easy at all. And to win a championship is a great accomplishment.
Exactly.
I don't think it's ever easy. Some players make it look easy. Maybe Golden State made it look easy with Splash Brothers, and it's not easy. I'm telling you, a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, a lot of blood, a lot of tears go into winning a championship. And then what happens after the first year, Pat Riley called it the disease of me. Everybody wants their own piece of pie. Everybody wants to get paid. Everybody wants that notoriety. And sometimes, the relationships aren't there anymore. So, it takes a great coach, head coach, and assistant coaches to mediate that, make sure everybody fits.
And I definitely want to appreciate you for sharing your basketball journey, especially the New York Knicks journey, the NBA, everything. And I know it came to an end in 2005. You moved on. Then you went on and worked for the US Open for 8 years. And
I've been very fortunate. I've worked as a trainer, or what they call physio. I'm a physical therapist as well, so we're called physios. I've had the pleasure of working as a physio at the U.S. Open tennis in Flushing, not far from where you and I grew up, and I've done that, and that's been a wonderful experience. Tennis players are really terrific guys. It's truly international. A lot of languages in the training, and that's been a joy. I do that for over 3 weeks, mid-August to mid-September, and that's been a joy.
talk about some of the star tennis players. Have you worked with any star tennis players?
Well, I interact. Understand, most of the top players have their own physio, personal physio. But you still interact, many of them. One of the guys who's truly exceptional is Rafael Nadal. And he's the favorite of a lot of people. And they ask me about him. And I say, you're rooting for the right guy. Now, I never really did anything for Rafael. He has his own team. But every time he sees me, every time we pass by each other, he acknowledges a tap on the shoulder, a hello, a nod, or something. And when he leaves the tournament, whether he wins it or loses it, he comes into the training room and thanks each and every person. And it's sincere. Also, when he first gets there, he introduces himself to all of the locker room attendants. These are like young college kids who pick up towels and help out and open the lockers. He introduces himself. He shakes hands and says, hello, I'm Rafa. To everybody. Who doesn't know that he's Rafa? He's one of the greatest. But that's who he is. You know, and it's really great to see that. And all of the players are really exceptional. Now, one reason may be because they're individuals. They're not on a team. They're not one of 12 or 15 or 20. These guys are out there themselves. And it's a particular type of personality. And they are really, really super people. And that's the best part of it for me. It's getting to know these people. This year, I got to know Yannick Sinner. He's an Italian. Didn't know him before. And one of the other physios introduced me to him. And he became one of my favorites. What a wonderful guy. What a great personality. So, I got to be the luckiest guy. I'm telling you.
You are.
To have these opportunities.
Yeah.
It really is. And I appreciate it. I know I should not take anything for granted. I've been a very, very fortunate person.
Yes, you don't take these things for granted. And you have the fortune to do something where thousands of people wish they would have been in your shoes.
No question about that. And I got paid for it.
So, yeah. Yeah, but thank you for sharing that story of the US Open. And I want to go on to another thing. Here's your book that you're the author of, called Life Sentence. Tell the viewers what made you interested in assembling this book.
Well, Chris, traveling in the NBA for 27 years, in and out of different locker rooms and clubhouses, and just experiencing life, reading and all, I started collecting quotes. There's some great quotes that I saw that resonate with me, that are very powerful. And I would write it on the back of a business card and then put it in a very large business card holder. And just keep putting them in when I saw something that I thought was important. And periodically I'd look at it and say, wow, this stuff is really powerful. And I knew that I had to share it with people, especially young people. So I decided to put it in books. This is my book called Life Sentence. And I named it that because there's one sentence in this book can change your life for the better. It's 680 quotes, 18 stories to inspire, to motivate, and empower people, especially young people, especially athletes of any age. And this applies to anybody. I still read this, every so often I post something on Facebook. Wow, this is powerful. So that's why I put it into book form and make it available to the general public. The NBA bought 100 for some of their events to distribute to young people. Many teams have it. It's great for coaches. Regardless of the level, people buy it as holiday gifts, Christmas gifts. Christmas is coming up. And I get a lot of people who buy multiple copies. So, it's done well. And I love, it's my way of sharing a lot of personal experiences. And I have some interesting stories in there as well. Some personal stories, some apocryphal stories. So, but I think everything I put into the book is relevant and important, especially today. I think a lot of young people are faced with some adversity and some trials and tribulations. And this is like a roadmap. This book is a roadmap to traverse these obstacles.
Exactly. And when I read it, it captivated me. Very powerful. A lot of powerful quotes from powerful people. But
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Thank you.
appreciate that too. Appreciate the book, and I loved it. It's gonna be on my collection here
Right.
from the books.
And it could be, now there's this Venmo thing, which wasn't around when I was young. My son set me up for it. And if anybody would like to purchase this, it's $18. It's a $15 book. I charge $3 for postage. It's really $4 now. Postage has gone up, but it's $18. And they Venmo me $18. Make sure you use your address, your name and address. Make sure you leave your address. And if you want it autographed to somebody, by all means, indicate that as well. I will also my personal email for people who want to correspond. It's WNEW1130@AOL.com. For older people, if they recognize that email, WNEW1130, that was the name of my favorite radio station.
Yes.
So, right, it sounded familiar. So that's it. So again, at AOL, WNEW1130@AOL.com. And Venmo is Life Sentence Book. Venmo $18 to Life Sentence Book. And I'll be glad to send it out to you. Especially with the holidays coming up. I can't think of a better gift to give. This gift will last people a lifetime. They will never get rid of it, I assure you. And I've only gotten back tremendous praise for the book. It was a labor of love putting it together. But I think it reflects who I am, somebody who wants to help society, especially young people.
And we're gonna put after this show, for those who are interested in buying this book, after that, we'll display all the information. We'll display all the details for those who couldn't hear it, or we'll just put it up there, your email, all your information. It'll be shared here right after the show. Well, I'll have a special page for that for you, Mike. But
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I think that all of your fans who participate in the podcast, I think they'll appreciate it as well.
yes, that's true. But one more thing, I want you to tell the viewers, and this is very interesting, in your book, you can bank on it. That was an interesting story, and share it to the viewers.
This story has a lot of legs. It's told by many. I remember listening to the Dan Patrick show. And Dan Patrick was into Danny Ainge. And he said, Danny, give me a Larry Bird speech. He said, this man, I don't know what's the, just give me one. And he told this story. And I remember watching on NBA TV a great series of interviews, and it was Kevin McHale talking about Larry Bird, and he told this story. And reading the book Drive, and Bird and Magic book as well, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson book. This story was told in it as well. Here's the story. You alluded to the fact that it was 1986 All-Star trainer. It was in Dallas, and that was the first year of the three-point shooting contest. And that's when Larry Bird came into the room, looked at the other contestants, and asked, who's finishing second? That's how much confidence Larry had that he was going to win. And one of the shots he took was a banked three-point shot, which is tough to do from that distance, banking a three.
Yes.
About 2 weeks later, we were up at the Boston Garden, and Larry and I had had conversations many times. We went back and forth. This Larry was known as one of the best trash talkers, and we would talk during games a lot. And I said before the game, I said, hey, big shot, let's see you banking a three tonight. He said, I'll bet you $5. But we shook, that was on. Game is going on. And the Celtics were pulling ahead. Larry was not on the court. And I didn't know this, but Larry forgot about the bet. But he told his teammates. And towards the end of the game, they said to Larry, hey, Larry, you had that bet with Mike about the bank three. I said, oh, I forgot. Told coach, I think it was Casey Jones, put me in. So Larry comes into the game. And I remember he's in front of on our bench. He looks down at me, steps behind the three-point line, banks in a three. So he's running back on defense, holding his hand up like this, $5. The entire Boston bench was up going like this, $5. And after the game, I gave Larry the $5. He won the bet. For 2 years, every time I saw Larry, it was the same thing. Hey, Mike, did you give me the $5? Well, fast forward about 15 years. I'm up at Springfield, Massachusetts at the Hall of Fame for induction weekend. And Larry, I walk into the ballroom, tremendous ballroom. Larry's holding. And I walk in, and Larry sees me. And the first thing out of his mouth is, Larry, is Mike, you ever give me the $5? And I was forced now to tell that story in front of the whole group. But that's a classic story. And it says a lot about Larry.
It does.
Man of his word that way. That if he said he was going to do something on the court, you can bet that he was going to.
Always stand by what he says.
Yes, yeah, and I YouTube a lot of stuff, basketball and health and other things, other issues, science and stuff. But there's a lot of stuff about Larry trash talking and living up what he said.
Correct. Yes. You have some powerful quotes in there. And from the names of John Wooden, Mike Krezwezki, Pat Riley, Michael Jordan, other sports figures. We talk about including Martin Luther King, Harry Truman, and so on. This book is an eye-opener. And we're going to definitely put all the information. You guys want to purchase this book, all the information will be displayed right after this show. And thank you for sharing the book. Make sure you get this book. This is a great collector. Thank you for sharing that. So we're going to move on right now. You're in Delray Beach, Florida. You're working as a physical therapist, correct?
I'm still working. I still see patients. Okay. I like to stay busy. I can't sit still and stay home all day. I have to be busy. I still see patients and I enjoy that. I still have interaction with people. So, yeah, they may not be as famous as some of the other people that I work with, but they're still getting good care, I assure.
And that's the most important. You're taking care of your clients. Once you take care of your clients will take care of you.
Yes, absolutely.
So you still go to the games. I know you're down in Delray Beach near Miami. You still go to, even so with your son is a scout for the Heat, you still attend?
Well, my son works he runs the scouting department there, signs all the scouts and takes care of all the scouts, plus a lot of other things. He works with Andy Ellisberg, who you know, who's a fellow alumnus of St. Thomas.
Right. Yeah.
So he works directly with Andy on lots of things. My son's been my son Jeffrey. Yeah, so I can go at any time to a Heat game. He gets me credentials. I walk around, see a lot of people. So that's been a great experience. And what's particularly great about it is not just to watch my son work and see how successful he is, but I also get a chance to see old friends from the NBA, perhaps announcers, coaches, assistant coaches. Some trainers are still around from when I was there. So it's good to see that. It's nice to reminisce. I'm not bragging. That's not my way at all. But I'm never fearful of seeing somebody from the NBA. So I know I had a good relationship with everybody. So it's not like, oh, I better avoid this guy because I crossed him. I'm never afraid of seeing somebody from the past because I know I always had a good relationship.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Final question here. I just want to know who you like to give thanks to for you having a successful profession. Who are the people who should be given their honor to?
Well, look, this is a whole nother show because so many people. I'm a team effort. There was a whole team behind me to get to where I was, and the first, my parents, Joe and Blanche. We didn't have a lot growing up. My father was a window cleaner. My mother worked as a secretary. We didn't have a lot. I shared a room on my bedroom with my brother and my sister. I didn't go away to college. I went to college. My brother went to college. So I was home and everything. I didn't have a car for my young. So it's my parents who not only they did more than encourage me. They really allowed me to find my way. They did everything possible for my success. So I'm very, very grateful to them. If you have a moment, I was inducted into the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame on Long Island this April. In my talk, thank you. In my talk, I talked about the 3 C's. I hope I can recall the 3 C's for the journey to success. And the first one was compass. I needed a good compass to show me that was my parents. And I needed a good co-pilot to help me navigate the world. And that's my wife, Susan. That's my co-pilot. You also need a great crew.
Repeat that. That we missed that there.
Oh, okay. So you got the 3 C's are compass, co-pilot, and crew.
Thank you.
Right? My crew, my co-pilot's my wife, Susan, of 41 years. Not only at my side, but behind me, always having my back. And then my crew were the many people who helped. From the beginning, Joel Rosenstein at City College, the trainer. Jack Hammond, Floyd Lane, so many people with the Knicks. My assistant, Tim Walsh. My assistant, Saeed Hamden. My assistant, Anthony Gornaga, who is now the head trainer for the Knicks. All these people were part of my crew, not to mention so many others. So it's truly a team effort.
Exactly.
And I think if that story would be in my next book. Because I think it's a powerful thing. You need to have all those things, a compass to show you the right way. You need a co-pilot, somebody by your side all the time, and to support you. So those are the people I thank, plus so many others. So that's my story, Chris, and I'm sticking to it.
And thank you for sharing that. And Mike, if you want to come on this show again, and if you have any new books or anything you want to share, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to have you back on here again.
And I would love to join you again, Chris. And don't don't wait for my call. You call me too. You say, Mike, come on, let's do something again. And I'd be glad to get on with with you on the podcast. We still have so many other things to cover. So yeah, by all means, Chris, this is just the first of many, I hope.
I definitely would love to have you on again. And I'm really humble and appreciative to have you on my show. And thank you so much for coming on.
Well, it's really been a pleasure of mine. And I love reminiscing about things. Sometimes I forget about experiences, but when you mention names and all that stuff, it just brings back a flood of good memories. So I love doing that, and we have to do this.
Yes.
And I hope your audience appreciated my reminiscing about the good old days.
Exactly. And definitely this was a great show. I enjoyed listening to going reminiscing back, especially the people involved in the New York City basketball community, just refreshing their memories, the Knicks, the NBA, days at City College, a lot of connections there. Priceless memories.
And no one can take that away from us. We'll have that until we go to our grave. We'll always have those wonderful memories. And both of us are very fortunate to share those.
Yeah. But thank you for coming on again. And this will be the end of our show. We'd like to thank you for tuning into the Hoop Post Talk Show. We'll see you next time. Take care. And right after the show, make sure the information for purchasing the book, Life Sentence, I'll provide you all the information you need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Take care.